What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're talking about Bloodstrike's new third-person mode. If you've played this mode already, you've probably noticed something. The game feels completely different. The weapons are still the same, the movement is still fast, but the way you take fights has changed. In third person, you have a much better view of your surroundings. You get more information before exposing yourself, and positioning becomes even more important. So if you're playing TPS exactly like you play first person, you're making things harder for yourself. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 tips and tricks that will help you get better at Bloodstrike's new TPS mode. And these aren't just basic tips like aim better or practice more. These are things you should start using in your actual matches. Let's get into the first tip. Tip number 1. Stop wide peeking everything. This is one of the biggest mistakes you can make in third person. In first person, you're often forced to expose yourself before you know what's around the corner. But TPS gives you a huge advantage. Your camera lets you gather information while your character stays behind cover. So use it. If you know an enemy is somewhere around a building, don't immediately run around the corner. First, check the area. Look around the cover. Check the windows. Check the rooftop. Look for other enemies. Once you know where the enemy is, then decide how you want to take the fight. This gives you an information advantage. Let's say you're behind a wall and you know an enemy is holding the other side. If you blindly swing the corner, they already have their crosshair waiting for you. But if you check the angle first, you know exactly what you're walking into. You might even realize there are 2 enemies instead of 1. Now you can reposition instead of giving them a free kill. And this is one of the biggest differences between first person and third person. You don't always need to expose yourself to get information. So before every push, ask yourself one question. Do I actually know where the enemy is? If the answer is no, use your camera first. Tip number 2, stop standing behind the same piece of cover. A lot of players understand the first tip, but then they make another mistake. They find one piece of cover and sit there for the entire fight. Don't do this. Once the enemy knows where you are, your position becomes predictable, and predictable players are easy to punish. Instead, keep changing your angle. Let's say you're fighting around a building. You peek from the left side. Then instead of going back to the exact same spot, move around and check another angle. You don't have to run across the entire map. Even a small reposition can make a huge difference. The enemy might be aiming at the left side of the building, expecting you to peek again, but you're already on the right. Now they're forced to react. This is where TPS becomes really strong. You have the ability to gather information while staying relatively safe, so don't waste that advantage by becoming predictable. Use your cover. Change your angle. Make the enemy guess where you're going to appear next. Tip number 3, use your camera before you move. This sounds simple, but it's one of the most useful habits you can build. Before you run across an open area, check your surroundings. Before you climb onto a roof, check the roof. Before you push a building, check the windows. Before you revive, check the area. You don't want to sprint into an area without knowing what's around you. This becomes even more important during rotations. Let's say the zone is moving and you need to rotate. A lot of players immediately start sprinting toward the next zone. That's when they get caught. Instead, move while constantly checking your surroundings. Look left, look right, check your front, check behind you. You want to know where potential enemies are before they start shooting. And here's something else you should practice. Learn to separate your camera movement from your character movement. Your character doesn't always need to look in the same direction as your camera. You might be moving forward while checking an angle to your side. This gives you much more information while rotating. The more comfortable you become with your camera, the harder you become to surprise. Tip number 4, change the way you take gunfights. In first person, a lot of fights come down to aim and reaction time. But in TPS, positioning becomes even more important. You don't always need to challenge an enemy directly. Instead, think about who has the better position. If you're behind strong cover and you know exactly where the enemy is, don't throw away your advantage. Peek, shoot, go back into cover, reposition, then peek again. You're forcing the enemy to react to you. And if the enemy has better aim than you, this becomes even more important. You don't need to beat them in a completely open gunfight. You can beat them with better positioning. For example, if an enemy is holding one side of a rock, don't keep challenging the exact same angle. Rotate around the rock. Change your position. Force them to move their crosshair. If they're healing, that's your opportunity to push. If they're reloading, push. If they're fighting another player, don't immediately jump into the fight. Wait for the right moment. You want to take fights on your terms. This is one of the biggest things that separates good players from average players. Good players don't fight every enemy the same way. They look at the situation and decide what gives them the best chance of winning. And finally, tip number 5, master your movement around cover. Movement is already important in Bloodstrike, but in TPS, you need to learn how to combine movement with positioning. Don't think about movement as something you only use when you're being shot. Use movement to make yourself harder to predict. For example, you could slide into cover, check your surroundings, then move to another angle. You could quickly peek an enemy and immediately return to cover. You could change your position after every few shots. The goal isn't to move constantly. That's another mistake. If you're moving randomly all the time, you're going to lose control of your fights. Your movement should have a purpose. Sometimes you should hold your position. Sometimes you should wide swing. Sometimes you should quick peek. And sometimes the best move is to completely disengage and reposition. Don't let the enemy figure out your movement pattern. If you're always strafing left and right at the same speed, they'll eventually learn your rhythm. Mix things up, change your timing, change your angles, use cover while moving, and most importantly, don't forget to aim. Movement is supposed to help your gunfight, not replace your aim. So let's quickly go over all 5 tips. Number 1, stop wide peeking everything. Use your third-person camera to gather information before exposing yourself. Number 2, stop standing behind the same piece of cover. Change your angles and keep the enemy guessing. Number 3, use your camera before you move. Check your surroundings before rotating, pushing, climbing, or reviving. Number 4, change the way you take gunfights. Use positioning and timing instead of challenging every enemy head-on. And number 5, master your movement around cover. Don't move randomly. Move with a purpose and make yourself harder to predict. If you start using these 5 things in your matches, you'll notice a big difference in how you approach fights. The biggest thing you need to understand is this. Third person isn't simply first person with a different camera. You have more information, so you need to make better decisions with that information. Stop rushing every fight. Stop giving enemies free information. Use your camera, use your cover, change your angles, and make the enemy react to you. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe for more Bloodstrike tips, tricks, updates, and gameplay. I'll see you in the next one.